I'd like to welcome you to our webinar today on self-service IT in a hybrid multi-cloud environment. First, I would like to do a couple housekeeping items. So we're gonna go through a few slides here and kind of set up the demo and talk through our solution for this challenge that organizations are having today. And then we'll have a Q&A session at the end. Later today, we will email out the recording as well as a slide, so you'll have that later today. I'd like to introduce the panelists today. We've got myself, Mike Stipe. I'm the Chief Revenue Officer here at Cloud Enablers, responsible for sales and marketing. With me, I've got Tony Rylan. He's the VP of Sales Engineering, and he's going to go through the demo and through the technology that we've created in CoreStack. So Cloud Enablers, we started building out our platform CoreStack in 2015. It's been commercially available now for about 18 months, and we're now shipping version 2.2. And we're super excited to be showing you the self-service portion of the platform today. A couple slides here, just kind of setting up the multi-cloud landscape. As you'll see here, there are some quotes. One from Network World, talking about the future isn't cloud, it's multi-cloud. Forbes came out with the similar kind of article as well as network computing, really talking about how organizations are looking at and utilizing not only a multi-cloud but also a hybrid, right? Using on-prem, public and private, and we're really starting to see that proliferate, and it's really good to see that in the trade rags and seeing that coming out. Here's another data point from Microsoft and 451 Research, which does a lot of polling of CIOs and IT executives, where it talks about we're really in a situation now where 2/3 of organizations work with 2 or more clouds, and we'll talk a little bit about why that's important, why that's gaining. As well as containers and serverless, and a lot of things are really starting to take hold now in the IT infrastructure.
All right, so now I'll take over. Hi, this is Tony Rylan again. I'm a sales engineer at Cloud Enablers, and so this is a second add-on to the webinar, the intro webinar that we did before, and we have a recording for that, so we can send that out to you if you're a little behind or have some questions from what CoreStack does as a whole. I'll talk about that a little bit, but today I really want to focus on self-service, our self-service IT portal that we provide, but then also talk about what's driving the industry, what are the benefits of it, etc. I found a really good quote, so I just cut and pasted the whole thing in there. It says, IT departments are facing increasing demand for faster, better access to corporate services and data. And now what's driving that is it's the consumer space, all the way from someone in the mailroom all the way up to the executives, with the intelligence that they're receiving through the internet, both from a consumer and enterprise perspective. They're expecting these resources and access to data instantly. And that's driving enterprises to adopt those same methodologies. In that same article, then it went on to say that IT is struggling to keep up. It cannot keep up. They need to be delivering intelligence faster in a way that's aligned with the businesses, and it's changing completely different than the ways they delivered those resources in the past. Self-service portals also used to be seen more of a cost-cutting tool, time-saving tool, but really now with the new technologies coming out, and as you'll see with CoreStack, really enhancing the productivity of the users. So if we look at what the cloud environment looks like from a consumption basis today, most enterprises have invested in the cloud in some fashion. There's many different cloud environments. Along with those are many different languages that need to be supported. Also, there's many different ways, portals that you need to utilize in order to manage those different environments. And there's also, along with that, standard operating procedures for businesses. So not only have they invested and gone into the cloud, but now their concern is, well, now that I'm in the cloud, am I following my compliance regulations? Does this actually follow my business processes? I think from my standpoint, a lot of companies made this huge jump into the cloud. They did it faster than I think what they wanted to or what they had planned for, and now they're looking at that as they're growing and entering into multiple different cloud environments. They're wanting to pull back a little bit to make sure that they are still following the right business processes and policies, they are following compliance regulations, etc. And then as we talk about the ease of use for these environments, right? Before, as a user inside a company, to get resources, the IT individual would create a VM or even order a bare metal server, install it, update it, patch it, install the operating system, the application you needed, and then provide access to the developer or the user, the line of business user. Now, with this ease of use of the cloud, any user inside the company can log into AWS or Azure and get free cloud services. For the first year on AWS or Azure, you get a $300 credit when you first sign up. And so users now are bypassing IT, and it's that whole part of that whole shadow IT conversation. IT is not getting me the resources I need fast enough, so I'm going to bypass it. I'll put in my credit card, but for the most part, I could get a couple VMs. That's all I need. I'll bypass IT, and that therein starts the shadow IT conversation. Out there in the market too, there is a ton of different tools depending on what you're trying to accomplish from a cloud management, orchestration, and delivery perspective. So there's multiple different cloud orchestration tools. The ones we support are Chef, Puppet, Ansible, and Shell scripting. From a CI/CD perspective, integrating Jenkins into that cloud lifecycle. Docker from a container management, Kubernetes from a container orchestration perspective, Nagios and Zabbix from a monitoring and auto-scaling, auto-descaling, and Cobbler from a bare metal services support. So there's a ton of other tools that IT operations are utilizing to help them manage these different environments today, but they're all different silos. They don't talk to each other, and there's no communication flow between any of them. Now when you start adding on that conversation of the different lines of business users inside the company, wanting resources, wanting them faster, and IT struggling, everything now has to roll through IT operations. Again, I'm talking about the current environment that we're seeing with customers that we talk to. But that brings up a lot of questions of what time frame. So if a developer needs some new resources, how long does that take? So they send a ticket up to IT operations requesting a certain VM size with an operating system in their application, a certain level of code installed. We've been finding anywhere from 1 to 6 months usually before IT has the time to go to the networking team, then to go to the security team, get your IP addresses, access lists put in place, firewall rules, then providing them IAM access, having it spinned up, having the operating system and the application placed on there, making sure that it's the right revisions, any patch updates, and then providing access to the developer. Then how are they managing that? Is there a ticketing system? What's that process look like? What's that flow look like? Now what happens too as they spin up and spin down these resources, are they just sitting there not being utilized? And in the cloud, that's costing a lot. We find usually right off the top, most companies are wasting about 20% just by not turning the lights off. Not talking about auto-scaling, just not turning the lights off when they're done. So the users have requested resources, they're up provisioned in the cloud. Maybe they sit there for a few days or a couple of weeks before they actually start being utilized. Once they're being utilized, once the developer or the user is done, do they just sit there for a few weeks while the IT operations goes through their ticketing system, goes through, it backs it up, terminates it, and tears it down? So we find, again, right off the top, about 20% wastage there. Also, overbuilt or underutilized. Once they've built these resources, it's static, it's sitting there. So is there a way to better utilize those resources? And maybe they're not using all the processing power, so let's strip it down. And if they do need it, then let's implement auto-scaling so that when those resources hit a certain threshold, more compute power, hard drive space, memory is added to that environment. And then the big thing, as we're talking about from a cloud governance perspective, is security and compliance. So as we're deploying those resources in the cloud and providing access to the users, is that following our business processes and policies as it relates to security? Are we following compliance regulations if we're in online ordering with PCI compliance, if we're a law firm with SOX, Baines-Oxley, or you're in the healthcare with HIPAA, FedRAMP in the government space? Or how do we define what our compliance policies look like, and how do we secure that? And this is where CoreStack comes into play. So we don't recreate the wheel in a lot of aspects. We utilize best-of-breed products like Chef, Puppet, Ansible, and Shell scripts. From a cloud orchestration perspective, we utilize the native DSLs in all the different cloud environments. So if you're in OpenStack, Heat, and Mistral, which can also deploy against AWS, we utilize AWS's CFN, their native DSL, and Azure Arm's native DSL to configure and manage the different cloud environments. And the reason I bring that up is that's one of our big disruptors in the market. Everybody else in this space recreates their own DSLs and their own language libraries and own IP. So what that means for an enterprise, as an enterprise invests in the cloud, if they then need to or want to add on some cloud management orchestration solution, they need to recreate everything into that new environment. All the different templates that they've created, they've got to change that language in the new environment. So our vision is to adopt kind of an agnostic approach from that standpoint. By utilizing those native DSLs, it gives us the ability that anytime a customer has invested in the cloud, once CoreStack, their cloud account is added into CoreStack, CoreStack will log into that environment and pulls down, saturates all that information, and can make day zero plus changes immediately. And I'll show you that today in the demo. And then so as part of this conversation, our trademark and our vision is cloud as code. And what that means is it's kind of the next wave of infrastructure as code, if you're familiar with that. But what that means is we want to treat all these different environments. From our standpoint, we want to be agnostic. We want the end customer to be able to adopt and consume different environments or ecosystems in the way that best fits their business needs or requirements and how they need to utilize them. And also by using all the best-of-breeds tools in the market, we also give them the option of using what's best to fit their needs. So if there's already some Chef scripts, for instance, that have been deployed and they're sitting out on GitHub or on the Chef libraries online for orchestrating some cloud environments, as a company, you can pull those in and utilize them. But let's say you have a new environment you want to spin up and someone has defined a template in Puppet, but yet you as a company are using Chef. Well, now you have to recreate that in Chef or deploy and migrate over to Puppet. So by utilizing CoreStack, we can again adopt best of breed as it solves business requirements. So, and then as we start thinking about enabling those users to be able to have their own portal where they can order up resources like you do ordering things online, the question comes to IT. The big questions are, well then, how do we train those users to use these tools? Are the users up to getting or are users up to the role of getting instant access? So that means if they're logging into these portals, do they know what to order? Do they know time frames? How do we control that? Are they ordering the right resources? We can't just leave it open, otherwise they could order wrong things, leave security holes, so there needs to be some constraints. Can we ensure that they are ordering the right items? Are they following, again, business processes and policies and compliance? From a user standpoint, this landscape is changing dramatically. As I discussed earlier, employees at all levels of the organization are becoming more comfortable with technologies, both driving from the consumer space into the enterprise space. And they're expecting that same level of access and control and instant response time in the enterprise space. So they come with this new methodology. Again, it was in that same research study that they want they say this new wave, especially of the younger generation, just give me access and I'll figure it out. Which to an IT person, to a security person, a compliance person specifically, that's a scary transition. having them trying to click it around and trying to figure things out. So being able to control that, give them access to what they need to have access to, right, that's the benefit. So as we look at providing a self-service IT, a self-service portal, the 5 keys to success are retaining tight control over that data or those resources. So it's important that they have access, but it's not more important than security, privacy, or regulatory compliance for your business. Also, knowing the right users and what they need to have access to, being able to define those resources and define those environments for the users so that they can't screw it up. They can't order the wrong resources, or they can't create vulnerabilities or security issues and holes inside of your enterprise, inside of your business. We need to design that self-service portal on solving business problems. So defining workloads, what's the end goal for the user, and defining workloads and policies and processes and the resources that they need to solve that. Instead of just giving them the open environment where they can pick and choose and order whatever they want, in order to have a successful self-service IT portal, you need to have it defined by what that end goal or workload is. Also, the next aspect or key point number 4 is ease of future adoption. So being able to have not only cross-platform support or multi-cloud support, but being able to change and being able to adapt as new technologies, new cloud environments, new integration tools come onto market. We're seeing this now, right, with the transition to containerization and containerization orchestration from a mass container deployment perspective. And now we're also seeing the next wave of serverless architecture. There's a huge shift, I think, also bringing a lot of those resources back from a private data center and private cloud perspective. And then also ease of use, being intuitive for the user, so that we don't need to have a huge level of training. They don't have to have the different knowledge pieces in order to deploy this. They don't need to know about security access lists and policies. They don't need to know about compliance. They shouldn't have to know about VM size. They order, again, what the end goal is, what that workload looks like. They should be able to log into that portal and order those resources, and it is provided to them seamlessly and as easy as ordering something online. And as those first 2 key points were based on, as we go back, tight control over the data and understanding the roles, users, and access. So that goes down to role-based access. So before I get into the demo, I just want to show a quick slide here that shows what our role-based access looks like. CoreStack has a tenant, role, and user-based access level. So what I will do is I'll first log into my Acme demo tenant. For most customers, they'll probably have a single tenant with all their users under that single tenant. Some customers may decide to have multiple tenants where they could have groups of users or silo out configuration entities or cloud environments into a multi-tenant environment. But most customers will probably have just a single tenant. For my demo purposes, I have multiple tenants just so I can show that for demo. So I will first log into the Acme demo environment from an IT ops perspective, show you what it looks like in CoreStack in order to configure and build out a self-service IT portal, and then I'll log in as a user to show what that self-service portal looks like and how easy it is to consume those resources. So before I go into the demo, are there any questions? And you can type it into the Q&A panel or feel free to unmute as well. All right. So with that, okay. Okay, when you first log into CoreStack, if you haven't seen this yet, again, there's a lot. CoreStack is a full governance, orchestration, and automation engine or platform. So I'm not going to get into all the particulars. You'll see a lot of the different main points off to the left. We'll touch on a few of those. I really want to focus more on the self-service IT, but if you have questions and want to see the rest of this, just hit Mike or myself up or info@cloudenablers.com and we can provide a detailed demo for you at any time. So when you first log into CoreStack. This will be a gray screen that has a big blue Getting Started button. It's really straightforward. When you hit that blue button, it will take you into adding in your different cloud accounts. So from here you can pick and choose the different public clouds or private clouds. In our live production version, there's there's more environments available than just what you see here. This is just what I have configured in my demo environment today. So just for the demo, I will choose what will work off in Azure, my Azure account. So from here, actually, let me log into a different tenant. Also at the top here, you can see there's multiple different tenants. I do most of my tenants through that ABC demo tenant. So I'm going to click on that one, just so we're all on the same page. Okay, so in cloud accounts, the first thing you will do when logging into CoreStack is you will hit this plus sign right here in the upper right of the pop-up window and enter in your subscription ID, tenant ID, application ID, and application secret. If you need help getting that information, you can select this question mark off to the right, and this will take you to our help guide, which has a step-by-step walkthrough of what you need to do on the cloud account subscription side and where you can get that information. It's pretty straightforward. As soon as you do that, CoreStack will go log into that environment and pull down all of that information. So as you can see here, CoreStack's logged into my account. It only takes a few minutes for it to go out there and pull all this information. And it automatically will show me the different resource groups I have available, the different locations I have things configured in. I do most of my demos in the West US since we're based out of Seattle. Keep it close. And from here I can see all the different instances that I have running, different images that I use as a corporation, my VPCs, security groups that we have configured, any containers, blob storage, any storage account related information. So again, CoreStack has logged into the account via your subscription ID and secret key and pulled down all this information, and then it adds that information into our inventory pool. And from there, once that infrastructure has been added into that inventory, so again, this goes back to companies that have already invested in the cloud. They have a bunch of VMs deployed or instances deployed. All of those resources are pulled into CoreStack, and then we can start, again, day zero transactions. We can go into our template marketplace and clean up old storage to save on cost. We can automate tasks. Maybe we need to pull different resource reports or billing summaries throughout the week. We can execute or schedule out different tasks that we need to automate as it relates to managing and orchestrating our different cloud environments. Now from a self-service IT, and then one other thing from a scripting standpoint, this is our script marketplace where we'll have all the orchestration scripts, again, Chef, Puppet, Ansible, and Shell scripts. You add in or pull down all the scripts that you're utilizing as an enterprise, or if you need to log into GitHub or any other repository, get the script or download the scripts that you want to utilize, add them into this marketplace, and then we can run those scripts against that existing infrastructure, those existing resources, or to any new resources or infrastructure ordered as well. Now here's what our app catalog looks like from a self-service IT portal for the users. I'm going to show you though how I created this first. So to do that, we'll click on the gear sign here in the upper right, and we'll go to self-service catalog. Now the first thing you'll be presented with is to define the defaults for the cloud account. So here, so when you click on the different cloud accounts, I just added in this ABC Azure, let's pretend I did. It will ask you what default location do you want to use, and again, if you want to have deploy resources in multiple locations, we can add in those cloud accounts in multiple different times. And we can kind of help you through the labeling and how you want to manage that, the process of manage that. You define what you want your storage account, your subnet, your VNet, etc. When users request resources through that self-service portal, this is what you're defining. You're defining what those default values are. From there, you will move on to defining what operating system versions you want to allow users to order. So this, again, goes back to that those 5 key points of controlling what level they have access to and what they have access to. So this is where you will define, again, the different operating system versions. It's extremely straightforward. You click on the plus sign, click on the different cloud accounts. For this demo, we'll use Azure. If you have private images that are in your private repository, they will show up here in a click-down box. Or if you want to go use a public image that's sitting out in the Azure Marketplace, you can do that as well. So you click on the image type as public. From here, the publisher, we can search through any of the different publishers. You can search through and click. I know for this demo, let's use an Ubuntu image. I know Canonical manages those images or does a good job of managing the images for the Azure Marketplace and AWS Marketplace. So I'll do a search for Canonical. Once I select Canonical, then all the other options will pop up of what sort of server type do you want. Ubuntu server, what's the real specific SKU and version? So it gets extremely granular on what exact image you want to make available to your users. I'll use 1404.1 LTS. And then what revision, so which patch version as well. Click the latest and greatest. And then we can also add in the cost. Some of the costs are pulled down, some will be manually added depending on how as an enterprise you want to internally bill the different departments, and also how you want to track your cost and what sort of reports you want from a cost analytics perspective. So we can also, this provides the opportunity for the IT department to again not become a cost center, but to be able to define and even add on costs where necessary to pay for themselves. So they end up becoming a profit center. So for this demo, I'll put 0 cost since Ubuntu's free. From here, we choose what OS type, and this is for defining what's happening on the back end. So this is how CoreStack will know how to log in, what ports to use, what root and admin and user level access to assign, etc. So I'll choose Linux and Ubuntu, and I will create, I need to give it a name. I will do webinar Ubuntu, and I will create that catalog. And now as you will see, that catalog has been added into as an option, or that operating system is now available to users inside my enterprise as an orderable operating system to add on to resources. Next thing we want to do is choose the different VM sizes that we want to, again, give access to the different users inside our business. Same idea, you could click the plus sign, you pick the cloud account. I'm going to choose Azure. You choose the flavor size. Let's choose a standard A6. Provide the cost, which I will just enter. Normally, I will look at the Azure. Over here, I'll show you how to do it. If you go to Azure's pricing, you can pull down the active cost. So I know that I'm in West US 2, pick the region. On the operating system, doesn't matter. I'm just going to use general purpose instances. I used A6, which has a cost of, they might have got rid of A6. Let's use A4. It has a cost of 0.352 per hour. So I'll change this to A4. All right, so now I've assigned that cost to this VM size. It will show you here that it assigns that VM size assigns 14 gigs of RAM, 605 gigs of storage, and 8 CPUs. So I'll create that catalog entity, and now that's been added into my pool. The next is apps. Now these apps we ship, CourseTech is shipped with a bunch of default applications that most companies will use, but then you can add in applications extremely easily. The first step to that is to get a script in order to deploy that application. So one of the use cases I actually had created was for my kids who play Minecraft a lot. They like to fire up Minecraft servers. So I went onto the Azure Marketplace. I downloaded an Azure template or an Azure deployment script that will deploy a Minecraft server in an Azure Ubuntu image. So I've downloaded that. You can add that script in here by hitting create. You add in the different credentials, what sort of service account, where the file is located. It can pull it directly off the Git repository or directly off my hard drive or at any URL or storage space off the internet. And then we'll add that in here. As you can see, Azure Ubuntu Minecraft script is the one that I added. From there, when I go back into my self-service catalog, when I want to add a new application, I click in the plus sign. Again, it's pretty consistent, straightforward. You hit the plus sign, give it a name, Minecraft server. Provide it some sort of cost, what that you want to charge for that application. Just for the demo, I'll put $10 per hour. You can browse to a specific graphic that you want to make available. And I downloaded a Minecraft graphic, so I will use that. You can provide some details. This will install Minecraft server on Ubuntu Azure image. Okay. And this is where you will choose which script. It was a shell script, so I will select shell. I will select my Minecraft server script, and as part of that script, it was defined on what the minimum RAM, CPU, and disk space requirements are needed in order to deploy that application. So this is where you can define that. If it's not predefined in the script, you will be able to predefine it here. And what that does is then when a user logs in and wants to deploy that application, CourseTech, if they choose that Minecraft application, it will automatically say, okay, well, I'm only going to provide the options that meet these minimum requirements. And so they will only, as you will see here in a few minutes, it will only show me VM sizes that meet those requirements. Again, you can add some additional demo or additional details here. Hit create. Oh, that's right, I'd already pulled that one down. I'll just use this one just for now. All right, so then that will pull that in as an option, as an application here into your pool of applications. So then when you look at your application catalog, that application will be added to the pool, or added to as a catalog tile or an orderable entity inside our app catalogs. Here you will see they can order the Minecraft, a user can log in, order Minecraft server. When they configure that order, it will provide them the resources that meet the minimum requirements. You can choose the different cloud accounts and see here it's showing that minimum is an A1 all the way up to an A4, I think is what we had configured. And we'll get into that here in a second. All right, the next step would be to configure full environments or workloads. So this, when we look at our app catalog, there's two different configuration entities. There's individual components, whether they, as an IT ops, you want to give your users access to order just a raw operating system or a VM image, or you want to give them the choice to order specific applications and what operating systems those applications can run on. Or we can also choose to have a predefined, configured, complete environment. So these environments are built off of our template marketplace. So this is where you'll add in the different templates. And again, these templates are the native DSL languages. So from an Azure, OpenStack, or AWS perspective, any native template that they have on their different marketplaces, you can pull in, download as a JSON or YAML file, pull into this, pull into CourseTech, add it into your template marketplace, and from there it can then provision that environment. So these templates could be provisioning just a single VM with a Linux instance, or it could spin up a whole 100 VM server farm or rendering farm it's really unlimited on what you want a single template to do. So this template can also, as we talked about earlier, deploy multiple different script languages. So you're not stuck to one cloud environment, one scripting language, or one application, etc. In a template, we can have a single template deploy. Here, I'll show you an example of one. We have an example right here of a template that deploys a two-tier CRM app, and what it does is this template deploys the application server in an OpenStack public cloud, but it installs and provisions the database server in the AWS cloud. So just like that, we can create as a company, I could create my own templates to deploy my whatever environments I want to make available or enable access to for those users, enable them to be able to order those resources. So first, as an IT ops, you will define what those templates look like, and then when you log into the self-service catalog, you will add in those templates as a workload. So here again, it's really straightforward. Let me see, do I already have the Minecraft one in here? No, okay. So this is a little different than the script. I downloaded a Minecraft template, an Azure template. So earlier I was talking about a Minecraft script. That was a shell script that would go out, provision an Ubuntu image in Azure, and then deploy Minecraft server on it. In the Azure Marketplace, I also found a full Azure ARM template that does pretty much the same thing. So I downloaded that. Oh, here, I'll show you. I added that into my templates right here. This is the template. This is the content of the template. I downloaded that in a JSON file, added it into my templates, and from there now I can provide access to that for the users. So to do that, again, we'll hit the plus sign. We'll give it a name, assign it a cost. An icon. I will just use that same icon that I used. Provide some contents. And now when you select the actual template itself, when Azure, if you look in the Azure portal and you were to deploy this template, a bunch of options will show up. So as part of that, CoreStack has the intelligence to understand that template and then provide you with the options that you need to provide to your users. So you can make any of those different options, you could make them hard-coded so that when those users deploy that environment, they have 0 options, or you could have it be open-ended. You want to give them the option to maybe name the VM, whatever they want to name it. Maybe if you want to give them access to choose their own IP addresses, etc. This is the template that I had created. And this is where you will go down and define what is going to happen as part of that template. Also as part of this, another thing is we can bundle multiple different templates into a single workload. So as part of this workload, I could create a workload which goes out and deploys 15 different templates. How you would do that is you would just select the add resources and select another template, and you would go down, you'd create a package of templates which would deploy a whole complete environment. So you could add that here, and that would then deploy a whole workload. That's it. Hit proceed, and now that it will pull up that window I was talking about where it provides the options. This is where you will define what you want to either be static or what you want to make available for the specific end users. So I will just, let's just use my default password. Name, we could say Minecraft Server Webinar. These are defaults to what Minecraft server related things. Admin username, I'll do Azure user. This is another thing as well that is top of mind for IT when they talk about self-service portals, is what access level do you provide to that end user. Most other products in the space just provide root access level. Here we have the ability to provide root access for some workloads or user access for others. So when the user logs in to make changes or to deploy their new application, testing, whatever it is, as an IT ops, you will define what level of access you want to make available to them. Minecraft user, this is dependent on the Minecraft server login, which I'll just do testing 1, 2, 3. Okay. So that now has added that template, right, or that workload into my pool of available resources for users to order. So if I go now and look at my app catalog, you'll see here right on the upper left, this is that workload. So that deploys that whole environment. And again, that could be multiple different VMs in multiple different environments, both private, public, multi-cloud, etc. And then you'll also see this is where that script is. So there are 2 different ways to add in how you want to deploy resources. All right, well, now that I've showed you how to define this, I'm going to log in and show you what it looks like from the user perspective. Actually, one other thing I want to show you is what our role-based access looks like. So by default, CoreStack is deployed or comes with a consumer role, which provides them access just to the app catalog, which I'll show you, an approver role, which would be probably the manager or someone in the line that is approving these resource requests. So when a user requests resources in the different environments, who is going to be the approver? So the approver will see if that approver has 10 individuals underneath them that they approve resources for, they will only be provided access to what those 10 users have been requesting, and will only be able to pull reports against those 10 users. Then we also have ops team and ops admin. So there's actually 4 different default cloud accounts that come shipped. So the ops admin would be probably your main IT administrator will manage all of CoreStack and manage the role-based access control. Operations team could be other IT team members that maybe have access to creating templates and scripts and policies from a security perspective, and are part of defining what that self-service catalog, but maybe they don't have access to all the different reports and things like that. So all of that is defined here, and it's extremely granular on what access you want to give to what users. And so this goes back to that, a part of those key points is really controlling what access the users have and what they're allowed to see, order, and utilize as part of the platform. Okay. Yeah. Oh, yeah. And these rules and roles can be anything that you want. So although I showed you that comes default with the 4 different roles, you can add in as many roles as you want and define what those roles are. And so, for instance, you could create a consumer role and have it just be QA test. Whoops. Dyslexia. For instance, and let's say you only want them to be able to log into the self-service catalog. You only want them to be able to maybe look at their order history, and we'll give them the option to have a consumer dashboard. From an orchestration perspective, we can get, again, extremely granular if we want to add just bundles of templates. Can they have access to templates, app scripts, blueprints, template jobs? Again, it's extremely, our role-based access is extremely granular, and I would say the best access that I've seen across the market, but right, of course I'm going to say that. Also, we integrate with LDAP and Active Directory, so all of this can be managed from a centralized location. Okay, now I'm going to log in as a consumer. So as I showed you on that slide, on the slide earlier, I'm going to log in as ABC developer. Oops. Which is part of only the ABC demo tenant, so they will not see any users or anything that's been defined. So each tenant could be defined its own self-service catalog, and then from that, each user or each role can be defined we can define which catalog tiles they will have access to. Okay, so I'll show you that now. So I'm going to log in as ABC developer. So what you'll see right off the bat is they have their main dashboard, which will show them what active VMs they currently have running, what's expiring today, what's expiring this week. CourseTech also sends out emails, which can also be pushed to SMS text. that will alert them saying, hey, you have this resource, it's about to be terminated today. Do you want to modify that order and extend it out for another week, or are you okay? Or do you want to just terminate it now? Maybe you scheduled it to last a full month, but you're done with your testing cycle, giving the option to the user to be able to log in and terminate those instances right away. So first, I'll show you what it looks like from My Cloud Apps. So when you click on that from the dashboard, it takes you here to My Cloud Applications, and it will show the user what they currently have running. So this user, ABC Developer, ordered a web server earlier, and these are their credentials. This is how you can log into it. We also provide console, URL console access directly into that image right from here. So I can click on this and it will take me to my console. And from there I can log in, right, as admin user. And then password. And these passwords also can be, you define it as the IT ops, do you want it automatically generated? So they're random, or do you want to have each user have a static password for all of their resources? I have it set up for random. So now I am into, what was that? It was an Ubuntu 14.04 deployed in M3 Oregon. All right, so now I'll show you what that app catalog looks like for this user. Again, this app catalog is going to be defined on a per role base. So I created an ABC demo tenant role, consumer role, and I defined what catalog tiles, we call these catalog tiles, are available. So some users may log in, let's say there's a QA test, and that person deploys the same environment, maybe it's 10 VMs with operating system and specific applications, image size built out as a workload. That user will log in and may only have access to a single catalog tile. Every Monday or at the end of every Scrum cycle, they log into CourseTech, they deploy the same environment, and therefore they only need a single tile. Or in this case, this developer has access to all the catalog tiles from a demo standpoint. So let's order an Apache server, just because that's a good one to demo, because then you end up seeing something once it's deployed other than just logging in. Also, once, if you notice, here if I go back, once I click on Apache, I've defined, right, that Apache, the requirement, so it's going to know what VMware size, and I've also defined what operating system that's going to run on. So it's I've defined on the back end Ubuntu. So then CoreStack will know, or automatically knows that, okay, I know the VM size and the application that I'm going to order, so it will clear out the rest of the catalog and only show you what other apps meet those criteria and what else could be ordered. For time constraints, I'm just going to order a single app because it could take a few minutes extra to add each application. But from here, if I wanted, as a developer, I could add in the Python application onto that order, or add in Minecraft or WordPress, Sugar CRM, any other applications that are defined in your self-service catalog. From here, I will configure order, and this again goes to how we define this in that self-service catalog. So I defined it to give the user the option to choose which cloud account they would like to choose to run this application. So in this instance, ABC Developer can choose which cloud environment, which operating system, and which instance size. We can also lock this down so there are no choices. Then as a user, I will give it a name, and I'll write Apache Web Server. We can also give the option to the user to activate ahead of time, so if they know they want this to be ordered and it's Friday night, they want it to be ready for them Monday morning at 8 a.m., they can pre-order these resources. And then also along with that, we require a termination time, and this is huge. This goes back to that leaving the lights on when you leave the office conversation. So by mandating a termination time, again, we're seeing about a 20% savings right off the top with cloud consumption usage savings for enterprises. And again, this isn't a hard time, so we set this time Alerts are thrown up to the user throughout the week, or as they get closer to that termination time, and then they can always go in there and modify that order and extend the time. So I'll just put it for the end of the day. We also, in our next revision, will have the option to have two-tiered approval support. So we'll be able to, CourseTech, you'll be able to define at a certain threshold, whether it's VM size or cost. Maybe you want not only manager approval, but VP approval if it's going to be a huge cost. So we'll be able to define that as well. Remarks to improver, this is for the webinar. And then place the order. Really straightforward, right? It's just, I mean, similar to ordering something online. Oh, another option too, thanks Mike for bringing that up, is we're bringing in the option to have no approver. So you could set certain catalog tiles to be able, giving access to users to not need to request approval under a certain threshold as well. Okay, so I've requested those resources. Another thing is CourseTech will send an email on both sides. I have multiple aliases, so I have the ABC developer and the manager approver set up with my email address. So first thing I'll show you is that if I look at my email, I have a filter forwarding everything from CourseTech to a folder, and here you will see as the manager, ABC manager, the approver for ABC developer, I've received an email that says ABC developer is requesting some resources and some information, and right from here I can hit view request and it takes me into this portal. I've also done this on my phone. You can log into that right off your phone and approve a request. So I will log in as ABC manager. Obviously if that was saved as my only login, it would have popped up and added me in. And from here the ABC manager is provided with that same dashboard. And here they will see what pending orders they have, what active VMs in their group, right? So anybody that they approve for will be added into this group, what's expiring today and this week. Click on pending orders, or they can click right over here on the left to order history, and this is where they can either modify that order. Maybe they've requested 3 months, but you know that they need to get this done at the end of the month, so why have that maybe sit there? So as a manager, as the approver, the user will be able to log in and change that order. They can also change where that's deployed. So maybe their AWS cost is getting out of control and they have an OpenStack environment or a private cloud, a VMware environment. They know there's resources available there that aren't being used. So as a manager, I could make the decision to log in. I'll change that order from, instead of being deployed in the cloud, I'll deploy it on-prem. And then as an approver, you can approve or reject. So I've approved that order. Also, again, because of my email aliases, this will say, hey, ABC, right, I'm receiving this as ABC developer, but it says ABC manager has approved that order. From there, I can log right into the portal. And this is where we'll be able to track those resources. Due to time, we'll skip through this because we're at the top of the hour. But this will be deployed, and once that is deployed, you will have the same access credentials and resource details available, and will be added into the pool of my cloud applications. Now, one other thing I want to show you from a policy and security standpoint, just to wrap this up, and then we'll open it up for questions, is we have a policy engine in CoreStack where we define when anything's provisioned, I want it to follow these certain rules. And this is really straightforward for demo purposes. I just have SSH and HTTP 0 management ports. I want to create a policy that doesn't allow those, I don't want to allow someone to deploy resources that anybody can log into. And again, these can be defined via compliance, regulatory, any type of security, patches, etc. We can add into this policy engine, and then on the dashboard we'll be able to track those. And so when you click on the different cloud accounts, you can look at what policy violations there are, click on those instances and close those holes if needed. Okay, so we're out of time. Any
Yeah,
questions? Appreciate it. Appreciate the time.
Yeah, so thanks everybody. That concludes the demo portion. We've got a couple minutes left here. Is there any questions for Tony or myself?
All right. Well, with that, we'll close. If there's no questions, we'll close it down. Appreciate everybody's time. Again, we'll send out a summary email, and if you want a deep dive or another demo, just let us know. We're more than happy to do that anytime.
Yeah, just send an email to sales@cloudenablers.com. We really appreciate your time today, and make it a great day. Take care. Bye-bye.